The midnight of August 14th, 1947, symbolized the rebirth of a nation after the slumber of centuries and a long struggle for self-determination. Jawaharlal Nehru, the first Prime Minister, said with moving eloquence,
"Long years ago, we made a tryst with destiny, and now the time comes when we shall redeem our pledge. At the stroke of the midnight hour, when the world sleeps, India will awake to life and freedom."
On August 15th, the appointed day, people gathered to welcome the dawn of a new age and witness the peaceful transfer of power. After hoisting the national flag, the first servant of the Indian people addressed from the ramparts of the Red Fort the 500,000 gathered below.
राष्ट्र के संबोधन के लिए
The Prime Minister acknowledging the greetings of those present, the national flag guard on its way out from across the ramparts. And in a short while from now, the Prime Minister will address the nation from the historic Red Fort. This rare living symbol telling its own story. The place where the history of medieval India was crafted, and today it is a connect between the past and India's modern present.
Amid scenes of unforgettable splendor, Delhi celebrated the first anniversary of the Indian Republic. A huge concourse of people witnessed the President's ceremonial drive along Kingsway. The parade by the armed forces, at which Dr. Rajendra Prasad took the salute, was watched by a large and distinguished gathering. Earlier, the President presented 4 Paramveer Chakras for gallantry during the Jammu and Kashmir operation. After the presentation ceremony, units of the armed forces, headed by heavy tanks, marched past the saluting base. The smart turnout of the officers and men and their soldierly bearing won repeated applause from the jubilant crowd. The most interesting item of the celebrations was a tableau on mechanized floats, depicting famous episodes from Indian history. Celebrated figures whose valor, patriotism and sagacity have contributed to India's greatness were brought back to life. Episodes from the immortal epics and historical events describing Indian heroism were vividly portrayed. The pageant was organized by the Delhi Education Department. It was a day of rejoicing and of thanksgiving. It was also a day when pledges were renewed to strive for the greater glory of Republican India.
Born on October 2, 1869 in Porbandar, India, Mohandas Gandhi began work in 1893 as a lawyer in South Africa, where he suffered a pivotal encounter of racial injustice.
He trained as an attorney in England, and his first legal job was in South Africa. When he was on a train to Pietermaritzburg, he was thrown off that train because even though he had a first-class train ticket, Indians weren't able to ride in a first-class train. This was a time of racial segregation, and that was a seminal moment in his life, which really turned his career towards civil rights and social justice.
While in South Africa, Gandhi organized the Indian community to oppose prejudice and racial discrimination through nonviolent resistance. During his more than 20 years in the country, Gandhi was arrested 6 times for his acts against the South African government. Through his peaceful acts of resistance, which included boycotts, protests, and fasting, Gandhi helped India gain independence on August 15, 1947. But 6 months later, on January 30th, 1948, Gandhi was killed when an assassin fired 3 bullets into his chest at point-blank range.
Diwali falls on the last day of Aswayuja, which normally comes during the month of November. There are many stories associated with Diwali. It is said that Rama has returned to Ayodhya after killing Ravana on the day of Diwali. People also relate Diwali to the defeat of Bali Chakravarti by the Vishnu avatar called Vamana. But the most popular and much interesting is the episode of Narakasura. Narakasura was born to Varaha, an avatar of Vishnu and goddess Earth. As he was born with the qualities of a demon, goddess Earth feared that he might be killed by Vishnu in future. So she pleaded Vishnu not to kill Narakasura at any cost. Vishnu thought for a while and said, "Okay, I will grant a boon, except you. No one can kill Narakasura." Goddess Earth was so happy to hear this. She was confident that she would never kill her son. As the days passed by, Narakasura grew powerful. Even the Indra couldn't defeat Narakasura. They all went to Lord Vishnu to protect them from Narakasura. Lord Vishnu assures them that the end is near for Narakasura. Soon, Lord Vishnu took the form of Sri Krishna and Goddess Earth was born as Satyabhama. Meanwhile, Narakasura continued his evil rule. He tormented the rishis and challenged the kings. On one such occasion, he had to face Sri Krishna himself. Sri Krishna knew that the death of Narakasura was in the hands of Goddess Earth, so he did not stop Satyabhama. When she wished to see the battle between Krishna and Narakasura started. They both fought fiercely. After a while, Narakasura was able to make Sri Krishna unconscious with one of his weapons. Then Satyabhama herself fought with Narakasura. She courageously faced him and aimed her arrows at him. At last, Narakasura has fallen for the arrows of Satyabhama. That day was called Naraka Chaturdasi, and people celebrated the occasion with lamps and crackers on the next day, which is Diwali. Diwali itself means a row of lamps. Diwali was celebrated not just by Hindus. Jains and Sikhs too observe Diwali for their own reasons. The last Tirthankara of Jains, Vardhamana Mahavira, has attained Nirvana on this very day. People also worship Goddess Lakshmi on this day. She is believed to visit the house of her devotees on this day. In fact, another name for Diwali is Lakshmi Puja. The Marwadis give a lot of importance to Lakshmi Puja on this day, and their new year in fact starts with Diwali. Everyone wakes up early on the day of Diwali, does a head bath, wears new clothes, spend the day with delicious sweets, pray for Goddess Lakshmi, lights the lamps at the sunset, and starts firing the crackers. The dark night of Amavas, glows brightly with the lamps lit on Diwali. The fireworks of Diwali is said to decrease the chill of the winter and destroy the insects that flourish at that time. As the night gets darker and the crackers calm down, children go to their beds in a happy mood. That stays until the next Diwali.
The story of Goddess Durga. Once upon a time, there was a tyrant called Mahishasur. He was part demon and part buffalo. Mahishasur meditated for thousands of years so he could please Lord Brahma and in return be blessed with immortality and power. After much penance, his plan worked. Lord Brahma came to him and said, "I am very pleased with your devotion. Ask me any boon that you desire." Without batting an eyelid, the arrogant Mahishasur said, "Lord, I don't want any man or god to be able to kill me." Brahma raised his hand in blessing and said, "Tathastu, so be it, my child." A twinkle in Brahma's eyes gave away the fact that maybe Mahishasur had left a loophole while seeking his blessing. Time would tell. Armed with this boon, Mahishasur considered himself immortal, as no man or god could lay hands on him. In his rage and pride, he practically destroyed the earth. The lands were soon covered in darkness, and his massacres were widespread. Not only that, he chased away the gods out of heaven. Scared, the gods went running to Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva and narrated their misfortune. The lords Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva were hopping mad. They conferred for a moment, and then they held each other and started to radiate a blinding light, a light never seen before. Out of this beautiful light was born the 10-armed goddess Durga, the embodiment of Adi Shakti. One by one, the gods approached her and gifted her a dazzling array of weapons. The mighty Sudarshan Chakra was given to her by Lord Vishnu. She got a Kamandal or pitcher from Lord Brahma. She got a quiver full of arrows from Lord Varuna, the god of the sea. Lord Yama, the god of death, gave her a powerful scepter. Lord Indra, a thunderbolt to rattle the earth. Lord Vishwakarma, a menacing axe. Kal, or time, gave her a sharp sword. Airavata, Indra's white elephant, gave goddess Durga a bell. Its noise helped her confuse the demons. Lord Shiva gave her a dangerous trident. The mighty Himalayas give goddess Durga a lion to ride upon. Armed with 10 weapons, gifted to her by the gods, one for each arm, she looked ready to show Mahishasura who the boss was and went into battle with him. Durga battled Mahishasura for 10 whole days. On the 10th day, she managed to chop off his head with her trident. At last, the balance of life was restored. To celebrate this victory, we perform Durga Puja every year. Durga Puja is a 10-day carnival in Bengal. This day is also called Dashera, and we celebrate Lord Ram killing Ravan too.
Holi is a joyous festival for everyone in the family and for everyone across India. It falls on the auspicious Falguna Paurnami, a full moon day according to traditional Hindu calendar. It is famously called as Vasantotsav in North India and Dol Yatra in West Bengal. It is said that Hindu mythological god Lord Krishna celebrated Holi with his favorite gopikas, and it is religiously followed in Mathura too. History says that Hiranyakasipa, a giant, had a younger sister Holika. She had a boon of staying unaffected by fire. Hiranyakasipa's son Prahlada was Vishnu's devotee, against his father's likes. One day, Hiranyakasipa was so irate with Prahlada's devotion that he planned to frighten his son by putting him in Holika's lap on a campfire. Surprisingly, Holika burnt away, but Prahlada stayed alive. The fire subsided without harming him at all. Before burning, Holika pleaded Prahlada to forgive her. In observation of her apology, Holi is celebrated every year. People across India collect various old and useless household items to prepare a campfire. They sing and play around it, after which they tease each other by applying colors. And that's the reason Holi is a colorful, bright, exciting festival that brings happiness. This day, even enemies become friends to play with colors. Are you ready?
So Islam has been around since the 7th century. What was founded by Prophet Muhammad, Islam stands today as the world's second largest religion. With about 24% of the world's population following this faith, Eid al-Fitr is celebrated across the globe. Even we, the non-Muslims, join the celebration in one way or the other. So here are 4 reasons why we celebrate Eid al-Fitr. Number 1, for gratitude. We have all seen our Muslim peers fast during the month of Ramadan, but what we did not know was that they fast to show their gratitude to the Almighty, as it was the holy month of Ramadan when Quran was first revealed. Eid al-Fitr marks the celebration of the successful completion of this fast. It is a way in which they thank Allah for guiding them through the month-long fast. Number 2, for forgiveness. Just like being grateful, Muslims believe that one needs to seek forgiveness from the Almighty for their wrongdoings. These wrongdoings could be intentional and also those which happen unknowingly. More importantly, during Eid, Muslims are encouraged to forgive and forget any animosity and enmity with others that might have occurred during the year. Many even consider seeking forgiveness from elders and family members during this holy festival. Number 3, for charity. By fasting for a month, Muslims show their discipline and obedience by following all the rules that forbid them from consuming any kind of food or beverage. By doing so, they come close to understanding the pain of the underprivileged. As an act of charity, Muslims pay money to the poor and the underprivileged. Muslims are expected to give an obligatory charity amount on behalf of each of their family members to the needy or the poor. This way, even the poor and underprivileged would be able to celebrate Eid and not feel depressed. Number 4, for merriment. Like every other festival in the world, Eid is celebrated to spread joy and happiness among people. People meet and greet each other. A simple Eid Mubarak followed by hugs is a way to share the joy with each other. There are feasts with delicacies ranging from biryani to sheer korma. All in all, it's a festival celebrated in the holiest of spirits. So now you know why we celebrate Eid.
Once upon a time in the land of Nazareth, there was a girl called Mary. One day, while she was working in the kitchen, an angel appeared to her and said, "God has blessed you and is pleased with you." Mary was very surprised by this and wondered what the angel meant. The angel said to her, "Don't be afraid. God has been very kind to you. You will give birth to a baby boy and you will call him Jesus." Mary was very afraid, but she trusted God. "Let it happen as God chooses," she replied to the angel. As the days passed by, she was married to Joseph, and they traveled from Nazareth to Bethlehem on a little donkey to help them in the journey. When Mary and Joseph reached Bethlehem, they had trouble finding a place to stay. Every house was full. Every bed was taken. Finally, they found one innkeeper who agreed to give them a place in the stable where the animals slept. That night, Mary gave birth to a baby boy in the stable, and he was kept in the manger. This little boy was then named Jesus. In the hills and fields outside Bethlehem, shepherds looked after their sheep through the long cold night. Suddenly, an angel appeared before them, and the shepherds were surprised. But the angel said, "Don't be afraid. I have good news for you and everyone. A king is born today in Bethlehem, and you will find him lying in a manger." On that night, a bright new star appeared in the sky. 3 wise men in faraway countries saw this star and knew that a great king was born. They followed the star to Bethlehem to see the newborn king. Each of them brought him gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And so, my dear Mia and my dear Jack, people all over the world celebrate Christmas to celebrate the birth of Jesus.
Baisakhi is an important festival. It is celebrated on 13th April every year. On this day, farmers start cutting their crops. It is celebrated in North India. In Punjab, it marks the birth of Khalsa Panth. Farmers thank God for their good harvest. They perform Bhangra. They enjoy a lot. The Sikhs visit Anandpur Sahib in great numbers. They pay their respect to Guru Gobind Singh Ji.
Onam is celebrated by every Malayali and is one of the secular festivals in India. The wonderfully decorated elephants, Kathakali and Pulikali dancers' performances, gigantic snake boats lined up at the shores for competitions, and the floral decorations everywhere are a wonderful feast to the eyes. The Onam celebrations are spread over 4 days. Although it is celebrated to mark the harvesting season these days, the reason dates back to the Hindu mythological story of King Mahabali, Although an Asura, King Mahabali ruled his land with great welfare, pomp, and without discrimination. He was known for his generosity, the prosperity of the land under his rule, and was said to be wise and judicious. It is said that Kerala witnessed a golden era under his rule. Soon, King Mahabali began to attract the attention of Devas. The Devas were worried that the kingdom of Mahabali was becoming better than heaven. Soon, they prayed to Lord Vishnu and asked him to get rid of Mahabali. Lord Vishnu granted the wish of the Devtas and soon reached earth in the form of a young, poor Brahmin boy. Lord Vishnu took the form of Vamana. Vamana then went to Mahabali and told him that he was a very poor Brahmin who needed 3 feet of land. He quickly accepted the request. With the first 2 steps, Vamana grew up to the size that measured the earth and heaven. In the 3rd step, he couldn't find any place. Mahabali realized he was Lord Vishnu and so generously offered his head for the 3rd step. Impressed with his generosity, Lord Vishnu made him the king of Patala, and Mahabali gladly accepted, saying that he would return once every year to his land of Kerala. This is how the tradition began. Here are some more facts about the festival. 1. In Kerala, Onam is a secular festival that is celebrated by people of all religions and castes. 2. An elaborate lunch called sadhya is served and filled with 26 traditional varieties of food. The Onam sadhya is an all-vegetarian affair. 3. Traditional wear is displayed on Onam, with the men wearing cream color mundu and jubba, while the women wear a traditional Kerala sari, white in color with a golden border. 4. To welcome King Mahabali, every house is adorned with creative pookalam designs or carpet of flowers in designs. 5. Gifting is a compulsion in the family. People exchange gifts in the form of silver, gold, clothes, home appliances, and many more. The youngest of the family usually gets the gifts from elders.
Pongal is a term used for Indian harvest festival, which literally means to boil in the Tamil language. It is a 4-day Hindu festival held throughout South India, which falls in the month of Thai. This festival is also considered as the traditional Hindu system of worshipping the sun god. Pongal also happens to be the name of a dish made up of sweetened rice that is boiled with lentils. The first day of Pongal is called Bhogi and is celebrated in honor of Lord Indra. The rituals of Bhogi includes tossing useless items of the household into a bonfire made up of cow dung cakes and wood. The second day is celebrated as Thai Pongal. On this day, the devotees traditionally worship the Hindu sun god, and the women offer sweet rice dishes which are cooked in earthen pots on open fires. The third day is known as Mattu Ponga, where cows and cattle are venerated. Kanum Pongal is the 4th day and the last day of Pongal, which has its roots in ancient Brahmanical tradition.
As the month of August arrives, Indians all over the world get anxious to know the date on which Rakhi occurs. Rakhi lets boys and girls to behold their relation as brothers and sisters, despite of any kinship. The festival of Rakhi has its roots right in the epic of Mahabharata. Sri Krishna has an aunt named Sruta Devi. She gave birth to a deformed child called Sisupala. Elders reveal that Sisupala would be killed by the same person, whose touch would bring him back to normality. One day, Sri Krishna came to his aunt's house. As Sruta Devi placed her son in the hands of Krishna, the child turned to be handsome. Though his aunt was happy to look at her kid, she was frowned to know that his death would be in the hands of Krishna. She pleaded Krishna to pardon her child, even if a situation comes where he should be punished. Krishna was moved by her plea and said, "I will excuse him for his misdeeds, but I shall certainly punish him if he crossed the mark of 100 mistakes. Sisupala has grown up to be the ruler of Chedi kingdom. He is now a ruler and a relative of great Krishna as well. But he used to be very brutal. He used to torture people in his kingdom and clashed with Krishna very often. He once started to abuse Krishna before the whole court. That was it! Sisupala on that day has crossed his limit of 100 mistakes. And so did the patience of Sri Krishna. Krishna aimed his Sudarshan Chakra at Sisupala. Such was the case when Sisupala has risked his own life despite being warned to be good. As Krishna charged the Sudarshan Chakra in a range, his finger got cut in the course. Everyone around Krishna has rushed to bring something to tie around the wound. But Draupadi, who was standing there, did not hesitate. She immediately teared a piece from her sari and wrapped it around the wound of Krishna's finger. Thank you, dear sister. You have come to my rescue in need. So will I help you whenever you are in trouble, assured Sri Krishna to Draupadi. This incident has led to the ritual of Raksha Bandhan. In later times, Krishna indeed kept his word by rescuing Draupadi when the Kauravas tried to insult her in full coat by dragging her sari. From thereupon, sisters were tying Rakhi to their brothers, and brothers in lieu would assure to look after their well-being throughout their lives.
Janmashtami is an annual commemoration of the birth of the Hindu deity Krishna. Krishna was born on the 8th day of the increasing phase of the moon, which in the Indian calendar is known as Ashtami, and with Jan meaning birth, the day is celebrated as Janmashtami. The occasion is also called Gokulashtami, as he was born in Gokul. The actual celebration of Janmashtami takes place during midnights, as Sri Krishna is believed to have been born at that time. Images of Krishna's infancy are placed in swings and cradles in temples and homes. All over India, this day is celebrated with devotional songs and dances, pujas, aartis, the blowing of the conch shell, and the rocking of the cradle of baby Krishna. Families across India celebrate Janmashtami, the birth of Lord Krishna, with great zeal. Children are the most interesting part of this festival as they dress up as young Lord Krishna. Popularly known in Mumbai and Pune as Dahi Handi, this day is celebrated with enormous zeal and euphoria. Groups of youngsters known as Govindas travel around in large groups trying to break as many handis as they can. The handi is a clay pot filled with buttermilk that is positioned at a rather daunting height prior to the event. The highest person on the human pyramid tries to break the handi by hitting it. When the handi breaks, the buttermilk is spilt over the entire group, symbolizing their achievement. Temples and homes are beautifully illuminated and decorated with flowers. Night-long prayers are offered and religious chanting continues in the temples. The dance, which is known as Sri Krishna Ras Leela, is one of the significant parts of the celebrations. As Lord Krishna, amidst the gopis in Vrindavan, spent the decisive part of his life, creates the flirtatious aspects of Krishna's youthful days. Though Lord Krishna is worshipped and loved in many forms throughout the country since ancient times, his teachings still inspire people to follow the path of virtue and righteousness in thought, word, and deed. Every year, Janmashtami is celebrated with great zeal and enthusiasm and shall continue to be celebrated the same way for years to come, due to the great faith people have in their deity.
Once, when goddess Parvati was taking bath along with her friends in her palace. But before that, goddess asked Nandi to stand guard on the door and do not let anyone in without asking her permission. When Shiva came, Nandi stopped Shiva from entering the quarters. When Shiva sternly asked Nandi to let him go in, Nandi obliged, and Shiva entered unannounced. Goddess Parvati became very angry with Lord Shiva, and the friends of the goddess were also embarrassed. They asked goddess to have her own guard who will only follow her order. The goddess then created a baby boy from the soil that came off her skin after taking bath. She shaped it into a beautiful boy and put life in him. Then she placed him on the door and instructed him to not let anyone in without her consent. When Shiva arrived at the door, the boy didn't let him in, despite stern insistence from Shiva. Then all the deities also tried to convince him, but the boy attacked them. This angered Shiva, and he slashed the head of the child with his trident. The sound of the fight reached Parvati's ears, and she came to the door, and her eyes fell on the boy's still form. She got very angry and took on their frightening form, and started to destroy the wall through earthquakes and storms. The deities got alarmed. Seeing what happened, Shiva calmed down Parvati and asked Ganesh to go north and bring the head of the first living being they see. The Ganesh went north, and the first living being they found was a white baby elephant. The baby elephant's head was then placed on the boy's head, and he was named Lord of the Ganesha.
Celebrating Guru Purab. Guru Purab is the anniversary of Guru Nanak Ji's birthday. The term Guru Purab, a compound of the word Purab, Parva in Sanskrit, meaning a festival or celebration with the word Guru, first appeared at the time of the Gurus. A religious festival. Guru Purab is a mixture of the religious and the festive. During these celebrations, the Sikh holy book, the Guru Granth Sahib, is read in homes and Gurudwaras in a single continuous reading lasting 48 hours. This reading, known as the Akhand Path, must be read without interruption. So a relay of reciters take turns at reading it. Processions mark the day. Sikhs march in processions through towns and cities, chanting the holy hymns. Special langars or community meals are held for the participants. Partaking of a common meal on these occasions is reckoned an act of merit. Akhand Path is performed in Gurudwaras. A day before, a procession is organized, which is led by the Panj Pyare or 5 youth and the Palki, Palanquin of Guru Granth Sahib, and followed by teams of singers singing hymns, brass bands playing different tunes, Gatka martial art teams show their swordsmanship, and processionists singing the chorus. Langar, the communal feast. After ardas and distribution of Kara Prasad, the langar is served. Langars are community kitchens in the Sikh faith, meaning the public not only joins in preparing the community lunch by kneading the dough for puris and preparing the halwa, but also enjoying the meal served on pattals, leaf plates, after a hard day's work. It is such a beautiful tradition of Sikhism.
In the Hindi language, the word Basant or Vasant means spring and Panchami means the 5th day. Vasant Panchami is celebrated every year on the 5th day of the bright half of the Hindu lunisolar calendar month of Magh, which typically falls in late January or February. Spring is also known as the king of all seasons, so the festival commences 40 days in advance. The festival is particularly observed by Hindus in the Indian subcontinent, notably India and Nepal. It also has been a historical tradition of Sikhs as well. In southern states, the same day is called Sri Panchami. On the island of Bali and the Hindus of Indonesia, it is known as Hari Raya Saraswati, which means the great day of goddess Saraswati. It also marks the beginning of the 210-day-long Balinese Paukuan calendar. The festival of Vasant Panchami is dedicated to goddess Saraswati, the goddess of learning, who bequeaths the greatest wealth of humanity, the wealth of knowledge. It is believed that Saraswati was born on this day. The season and festival also celebrates the agricultural fields ripening with yellow flowers of mustard crop, which Hindus associate with Saraswati's favorite color. People dress in yellow saris or shirts or accessories, share yellow-colored snacks and sweets. Some add saffron to their rice and then eat yellow cooked rice as a part of an elaborate feast. Many families mark this day by sitting with babies and young children, encouraging them to write their first words with their fingers, and some study or create music together. This ritual of initiating education in children is known as Akshar Abhyasam or Vidya Arambham. The day before Vasant Panchami, Saraswati's temples are filled with food so that she can enjoy the celebrants in the traditional feasting the following morning. In temples and educational institutions, statues of Saraswati are dressed in yellow and worshipped. Many educational institutions arrange special prayers or pujas in the morning to seek blessings of the goddess. Poetic and musical gatherings are also held in some communities in reverence for goddess Saraswati. In Nepal, Bihar and eastern states of India such as West Bengal and Odisha, including northeastern states like Tripura and Assam, people visit goddess Saraswati's temple and worship her. In southern states such as Andhra Pradesh, the same day is called Sri Panchami. In Maharashtra, newly married couples visit a temple and offer prayers on the first Vasant Panchami after the wedding. In the Punjab region, Sikhs and Hindus wear yellow turbans or headdress.
Born as the prince of Kapila Vastu, Buddha was named as Siddhartha by his parents. Before his birth, a prophecy noted he shall either become a great ruler or a great ascetic. In fear of losing the crown prince, the royal family confined him to the portals of the palace. Once during his 29th year, Siddhartha came out of the palace for the first time only to spot a diseased man, an old man and a dead body on the way. The three sights. These three sights made him realize life is full of sorrow and is just temporary. Siddhartha renounced the princely life at once in search of truth in deep meditation inside thick woods. Siddhartha got the most honored title Gautama Buddha once he attained enlightenment or nirvana. However, Bodh Gaya attracts the maximum number of pilgrims on this day. Buddha Purnima celebrations. Over the years, Buddha Purnima has turned as a social, religious, spiritual and cultural festival. Some of the events organized on this day include Bodhi Dhrum Mela, Sutra Sraban, Sutrapat, Ashtashil, Panchashil, religious speeches and discussions on the Buddhist scriptures, meditation, worship to the Buddha statues, processions and prayer recitals. In fact, the celebrations often last for over 3 days to 1 week. Bodh Gaya on Buddha Purnima. Bodh Gaya wears a festive look on the day of Buddha Purnima. Lakhs of devotees are seen pouring at this most popular site. The statue of Buddha is bathed with holy waters and worshipped, honored and celebrated in several ways. Group meditations. People participate in group meditations and resolve to follow the teachings of their venerated master in letter and spirit. Buddha Purnima reminds of the great contribution of Buddha to the lives of men on the earth and serves to instill his message in the hearts of millions across the world. Activities on the day. Buddhists worship Buddha with flowers, incense, fruits and candles. The statues are given holy bath with holy waters. Buddhists undertake a lot of charity works on this day, including distribution of money, food and other utilities to the needy. Activities in different countries. In Gangtok, India, a special procession of monks is a very popular event on this day. In Japan, Buddhists decorate the statue of Buddha with spring flowers after performing a ritualistic bath.